Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. Here's what's making news right now.
With the heat waves that we've been getting, our AC has not been working for 2 months now, so it's kind of a struggle.
We realize that it's really the services and the supports that you get wrapped in that not only get you out of homelessness, but keep you out of homelessness.
I perfectly understand Illinois' logic in taking a multi-pronged approach that includes trying to create some commercial incentives to remove as many of these fish as possible.
Thanks for joining us. Windsorites have been coping with unrelenting heat these past few days, and while we all experienced it, the heat impacts some more than others. CBC's Jennifer LaGrassa looked at which parts of the city are more at risk when the temperature climbs.
The sights and sounds of summer are upon us, but so is the heat. This week, temperatures in Windsor peaked at 34.9 degrees Celsius. While we all have felt the heat, some are feeling the impacts more than others. Alana Droulard's air conditioner hasn't worked for 2 months. She lives in Sandwichtown with her boyfriend, their 3 kids, and 2 dogs. While she's told her landlord the AC unit needs to be fixed, it's unclear when that might happen.
It's hard, trying to keep the temperature down in the house to where only one room is maybe 70 degrees and the rest of the house goes up to 90. It's torture. I can already feel the heat in the house. I woke up sweating and I was like, this is not going to be a good day.
Drouillard and her family live in one of Windsor's hottest neighborhoods. That's according to a new app made by a researcher at the University of Windsor. It also says that this area is statistically less likely to be able to cope with intense heat waves. The app looks at surface temperature across different parts of the region and also considers certain social vulnerabilities like income level, housing condition, access to community resources, or language barriers. These factors determine how well someone can protect themselves or endure an extreme weather event. The darker the region, the hotter that part of Windsor is, and the more likely those communities will struggle to keep cool during intense heat waves. The app has also done the same analysis for flood-prone areas.
I just hope this app can help move the needle a bit in developing climate change mitigation and adaptation strategy from an equity lens.
She says this information might help the city prioritize where to put more cooling centers, splash pads, and pools.
The City of Windsor just undertook an update to our climate change adaptation plan, which was approved by Council in 2020. A lot of our parks are now including shade structures. There's a couple new splash pads.
In the coming years, things are only expected to get even hotter.
Right now, our baseline in the City of Windsor is about 22 days where we exceed 30 degrees Celsius. But with our climate projections, by the mid-century or just a little bit past, we're looking at 70 days we're going to be exceeding 30 degrees.
Drouillard hopes this information will make her neighborhood more of a priority, especially since the closest splash pad is a 45-minute walk away.
I think that something should be done, have more community services available to families and elderly and anybody to help with this heat instead of saying, well, watch out for heat stroke, it's hot, just be cautious. It's hard to be cautious when your house is starting to boil like you're in a stove. It's not fun, it's not fair.
Jennifer LaGrassa, CBC News, Windsor.
A new shelter for women and families will open next week. The Welcome Center will close its old location in Windsor and open at the expanded center on Tuscarora. Chris Ensing got a tour of the center ahead of its launch this afternoon.
6 years ago, I stood at a podium and said, this is going to happen. And not because of my work, but because the combined work of agencies and levels of government and volunteers and staff, we're finally here.
Today's journey starts a new chapter for the agency, expanding our space for single women from 12 beds to 32 beds, and to have space for over 20 families, including pet-friendly units, expanded supports for children, on-site harm reduction programming. This building in itself will serve the community well and provide an opportunity and supports for hundreds of women and families annually.
This is where they would be typically, where they're sleeping, spending time with their kids, have access to the lobby, have access to the family room, and soon to be access to outdoor space as well. This space is our children's area. Again, very much in progress. Our goal in the first 6 months is that much of our programming, drop-in programming, children's programming, is actually non-existent, waiting for clients to design it. So we haven't named it yet. We haven't done any of that. When clients come, they will do focus groups, and then they will determine where the programming goes. Why be inefficient and apply programming to people when we should be doing it with them? This office will house 3 housing support workers. This office allows for clients to meet with a housing support worker, have access to sitting with them to obtain units, look for units, do applications, get documents prepared, apply for housing, and then offer some private space as well. We do have on-site laundry as well, so clients have access to free laundry 24 hours a day. We're not opening at full capacity, and our intent is to keep it that way. So as the need arises, we'll no longer be taking phone calls where we tell women, sorry, try again tomorrow, because we will have the bed capacity to accept nearly triple the amount of women we can currently. To be part of getting to this point it feels like the pinnacle of work that we've been working on. And so I know we need to get back to the work of it, but for today it's amazing to just revel in the awesomeness that we can create if we actually put aside politics, put aside ego, and just get the work done.
What is in a name? Well, a lot when it comes to an invasive species of carp. The state of Illinois and its partners are rebranding what's known as Asian carp to Kopi. The fish is wreaking havoc in the Mississippi and other Midwestern rivers. The hope is a new name will make the fish sound more appetizing. They want to market it as a food, so more of the carp will be fished and thereby reducing the numbers in the rivers. The Great Lakes Fishery Commission is also hoping that marketing strategy will keep the carp out of the Great Lakes. There's currently an electric fence in a canal near Chicago keeping the carp at bay. A spokesperson for the commission says the fence would be more effective at keeping the carp out of the lakes if there weren't so many of the fish.
The current effort to market and create a new name for the carps is designed to encourage more removal of those fish from the system than is currently occurring. And that's a good thing because what it does is it potentially could take more fish out of the system and relieve the pressure against that barrier. An electrical barrier is designed to repel the fish. The last thing you want to do is have a whole lot of fish, kind of testing the strength of that. The strategy then is to remove as many fish from the system as possible so that the pressure is lessened on that electrical barrier system.
Gaydon says if Asian carp or Kopi did make their way into the Great Lakes, they would devastate the native species of fish. He says, however, the marketing strategy alone won't rid the U.S. rivers of the carp, which have already done damage to ecosystems. A monument in Jackson Park marking a dark event in Ukrainian history has been given new life by the city. The Holodomor monument stands in remembrance of a famine 90 years ago in Holodomor, Ukraine, where millions lost their lives. It was a man-made famine caused by Joseph Stalin's policies towards Ukraine, and it has since been recognized by Canada as a genocide. Over the years, the monument deteriorated, but it's been fixed up. And today, the city held a rededication ceremony. The event accompanied with prayer and song.
To see it back in its place, and it looks absolutely fantastic. Just even looks better than when we put it in the first place. It just seems that way. It's wonderful. The things that delayed the replacement of the monument, but it's beautiful in its place right now, and it's hard to use the word beautiful for a monument that is reflecting on the tragedy that hit Ukraine, but nonetheless it is.
The restoration of the monument faced several delays due to the COVID-19 pandemic and supply chain issues. Tomorrow, Premier Doug Ford and his cabinet will be sworn in at Queen's Park. Lorenda Redekop has a look at some of the main issues they'll be facing right away.
A Ford government promise is to cut the gas tax as of July for 6 months by 5.7 cents a litre. Drivers hope it'll be passed on directly to them.
I mean, anything would help. It costs $200 to fill up a car is crazy, but I mean, that's the price we pay, I guess, for driving these enormous vehicles.
This man runs boat taxis to the Toronto Island.
Gas prices are kind of ridiculous, but I mean, I have an electric bike and I don't really have a car, so I don't care that much, but I mean, we had to drive up our prices for the tiki taxi.
From $10 to $12. Prices are up in many places, including housing and at the grocery store. Pressure will be on the new government to do something.
We're here to deliver 25,000 letters from frontline education workers all across the province.
Today, one education union had a delivery for the Premier. Their 55,000 members include educational assistants, janitors, and secretaries, making an average of $39,000 a year. She also had a message for the most recent Labour Minister. He put out a tweet yesterday promising better jobs and bigger paychecks.
Monty McNaughton said that he has the back of every worker and he's out to make sure that everyone has a better paycheck. We're holding him to it. It's time to get to the bargaining table.
They're looking for an increase above the cost of inflation. Other public sector unions in education and health will also be looking for raises.
I think we could expect conflict there, especially as there's uncertainty about the long-term inflation rate.
Another urgent healthcare issue will be dealing with crowded emergency rooms and a shortage of nurses, from a government promising the most healthcare spending to build new hospitals, years until they're finished.
The issue at the moment is about space, but it's also about personnel. So building more buildings doesn't solve the problems if you don't have the skilled personnel.
A big question will be who will replace Christine Elliott as health minister. Names previously mentioned to CBC include Sylvia Jones and Pravmeet Sarkaria. Unlike the last swearing in, this one will be held outside. More space for the second term, larger PC government. Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
Turning now to international news, the desperate search for survivors continues in southeastern Afghanistan after a powerful earthquake struck on Wednesday. About 1,000 people have been killed and at least 1,500 more injured. Officials expect those numbers to rise. With the lack of heavy equipment, people are digging through rubble with bare hands in the search for victims. But much of the debris is too large to be moved by hand. Some aid is starting to make its way to the remote eastern part of the country in a mountainous region near the Pakistan border. Poor communications and bad road conditions are hindering the relief effort. Most foreign aid was cut off last year when the hardline Islamist Taliban took control of Afghanistan, and the country is struggling with a worsening humanitarian crisis since the takeover. For National Indigenous History Month, we've been sharing teachings with you from a local elder. Teresa Sims is the City of Windsor's Indigenous storyteller. She's also a community leader and knowledge keeper. And today, she shares her family's experiences at residential schools. And just a warning that some of the details are distressing.
My mother went to residential school when she was 5 years old because they came to my grandfather's place and said, "We're taking your children. And if you object, we'll take you to jail and we'll still take your children." So my two aunts went up north to Chapleau, while my mom went to the Mohawk Institute in Brantford. And the first day, they took a broom, put it over the well, and took my 5-year-old mother, suspended her on over that water in the well, and said, "Until you can say please and thank you in English, you're going to stay there." So that was my mother's first lesson, and she learned to be a very good student because she knew what would happen if she didn't. And she had to prepare food. She prepared food for the staff, which was turkey and was vegetables and was fruit, because they had orchards, they had fields, they had cows, they had chickens, they had turkeys and ducks, they had all that for the staff. The children lived on mush or oatmeal, warm oatmeal, but it was watered down so badly that it was just mush. I know my mom had to have all her teeth removed because of malnutrition when she left the residential school. And my dad went to residential school very briefly because they put him on a 3rd floor, which was the floor for tuberculosis, the children that had tuberculosis. And they wanted to see how long he would take to contact that tuberculosis, bleed out, and die. He didn't die, so they had to send him to Hamilton to the sanatorium. But that was many medical tests they did on our children. Because my mom told me many stories about the children crying in the night, being hungry, and she tried to smuggle some fruit or vegetables that she had in the kitchen without being caught. And she was very shocked and traumatized by, one time a boy said, Zego. He spoke Mohawk to her because he hadn't seen her in a while. And the teacher got so mad and said, you heathen, hit him so hard he went down a flight of stairs. I think he broke his neck, but she never saw him again. So she learned a lot of horror stories, and they had no one to support them, no one to know their stories. But now you're learning these stories. My mom told me these stories, and I'm telling you. And with that, knowledge becomes responsibility, because we need allies. So now it's your turn. What are you going to do about this?
Support is available if you need. You can contact the National Indian Residential School Crisis Line at 1-866-925-4419. Let's take a live look outside. There's some relief today with those temperatures dipping down to the high 20s as opposed to those scorching 30s. Still hot though, and Dahlia will be here after the break with more. Plus, remember those ketchup popsicles that we told you about? Well, we've got them and we're tasting them. Stay with us. Welcome back. Ketchup Popsicles are about to hit the shelves. The limited edition treats will be given away tomorrow in Leamington, and it's a creation of French's and has been dubbed the Frenchsicle. And we got an early sample and asked some of our colleagues to do a taste test. So Windsor Morning Radio host Nav Nanwa and the show's director Tom Addison were brave enough to give them a try. So here's their review of the Ketchup Popsicle.
Oh, it's definitely ketchup. Do you like it?
It's actually it's not bad. It's tomato juice.
Yeah. You know what? I feel like a little bit of pepper and salt might be good.
And something else.
Yeah.
You put it in a glass.
Oh, you're thinking about something else. Oh, okay.
And our very own Dale Molnar also gave the Frenchsicle a try, and let's just say that his reaction was pure.
I'm the world's greatest ketchup lover. I put ketchup on almost everything. I put ketchup on rice. If I can open them, okay. So this is a ketchup flavored popsicle. Ow. Ah, God. Oh my, oh.
Dale Molnar's reaction is maybe one of my favorite things I've ever seen in my life. Dahlia Ashry, thank you for being here with us.
Thanks, Katarina. I see you got one in your hand.
I do.
I'm cheering you on.
I have one. This is totally raw, live television, folks. I have yet to try this, so
It's true?
let's give it a go here.
Okay, you got this. Oh. Oh, tell me, sweet, sour, what are you feeling?
It's very salty.
Oh.
But I love salt, and I actually love tomato juice. For some reason, I'm thinking of like, I drink tomato juice every time I'm on a plane. So this is taking me like there, like that's the sense memory that I'm getting. With this, I'm gonna take another one.
But like you're not getting any of that like tomato sweetness coming through?
A little bit, but it's almost like somebody handed me tomato juice.
Oh, okay.
Poured a bunch of salt on it and then froze it.
Who
and
needs
like, I'm good with that.
Who needs a Caesar when you can have a freezy Caesar?
Exactly, and it's perfect for this weather, even though it's a little bit milder today. But Dahlia, talk us through what's going on.
That's right. So listen, I don't have any freezy ketchup situation on me, but I have some sweet weather news to share. We have dry conditions coming up this weekend. A chance of showers, though, at some point, which I'll get to in a second. And daytime highs will be trending for next week. Now, currently, Windsor sitting at 25 degrees. Chatham, Kent, 25 degrees as well. Sarnia, a little bit on the cooler side, 21 degrees. And with that humidity today, it is feeling like 28 degrees in Windsor. You know, not as muggy as yesterday. Sarnia, 22 degrees, in Chatham, Kent, 25. Now, it is clear right now, which is great. But as we head into Friday, we're going to see a little bit of that cloud coverage coming through from south of the border. And as you see, you're also going to experience rain as we head into Sunday. So you're going to start seeing that precipitation activity coming through right there, which you can see right here in Windsor and Leamington as well. And on Sunday, that will continue throughout. And as we head into Monday, we'll see those drier conditions. Now, the overnight tonight, it will be 12 degrees in Windsor, Leamington 12 degrees, a little bit on the cooler side. So Leamington, I know you're getting those ketchup freezies tomorrow, but you won't really need it tonight. And as we head into your 5-day forecast, tomorrow 31 degrees, Saturday 31 degrees, Friday's going to feel like 34 degrees. Sorry, Friday's going to feel like 34 degrees because of that humidity. Sunday, a risk of thunderstorm, 40% chance of rain. Monday and Tuesday, so Monday 23 degrees, Tuesday, look at those beautiful double digits, feels like summer, 29 degrees on Tuesday. Might want to go and get you one of those ketchup freezies that Katarina had earlier.
Thanks so much for that, Dahlia. And I'm still going. I actually like it.
It'll cool you down.
There you go.
There you go, Katarina. Enjoy it. Enjoy it on my behalf. Take care.
For sure. And when we come back, we're going to take a look at the creation of an electric plane. Stay with us. The flight away from fossil fuels has literally taken wing for a Canadian amateur aviator. The retired engineer who has built several aircrafts has now made his own electric plane. CBC's Shane Fowler went out to take a look.
Plane is called an e-gull. He has gull as in seagull. It's an electric plane. Uses the powertrain from a zero motorcycle system, and then you modify that a whole bunch, and then you have an electric plane. And there's 140 pounds of batteries on there. I've had typical gas engines say, yeah, I'm ready for something quieter and smoother. Spent 2 years getting to a place where I thought, okay, now it's reliable. I knew a regular engine aircraft, possible, done that. This one, let's see what can happen. This might be kind of cool. You know.
Is it similar to an electric car in that, range anxiety is a thing?
Yes, range squared anxiety, yes. Range anxiety squared, definitely. And it's more of, like, you can't just sort of coast to the side of the road. You coast to a field somewhere, and it's more unpleasant, so the anxiety is worse.
That is very cool. The dog days of summer have arrived at a new cafe in New York City. You can take a look inside a first-of-its-kind dog cafe in the Big Apple, opened up by two brothers and their mother who wanted to create something more than just a dog-friendly cafe, but one that allowed their four-legged pals to run completely off-leash. And it also boasts a full menu of treats for dogs and their humans. That is it for CBC Windsor News. Thanks for watching and have a good night.